Welcome to the hegemony of the sign, the modern-day surveillance state, the endless anti-queer battleground we like to call the United States federal government, and fundamentally, the super-monopolistic system of modern control known as homo-nationalism, a mode of social domination, premised on the erasure of queer deviance and radical otherness of the continual rights of liberal dreams of incorporation and visibility, rendering queerness a tool used to redeemability of the system within the structure. The very goals of confidentiality are a farce created in London only maintain homo-nationalist representation that liquidates difference poor 17. Homo-nationalism and the absolute established all the subject level relation between race science communities and co-heroes those communities to homo-national expedition reinforce non-sexual version of queerness and reduce its own approach call for politics where displays the United States creates a force for every else the future of the United States shapes what queer is and how it forms a field of knowledge that can affect the rendering queer body cells rating from location war and colonization or continuing context life and need to rethink the United States a permanent state of war indeed systematically the centrality of U.S. colonial homo-national traumatized demands queer to be productive by political governments and mobilize the posture of function in the struggle over civilizational superiority and integrating into global solidarity and moves in each of the market and deliberately economies function and reproduction by political population racism displaying and deployment in the service of problematic ends numerous instances of violence rights discourse expanding the defense of marriage act in the same day enforcement provisions of the voting rights act were appealed over the majority race and class based disenfranchisement to a national health policy appealed in the state of the U.S. Senate put a halt to a DREAM Act federal legislation criminalizing hate crimes was passed because it was attached to the military appropriations bill legislation without greater use of militarization of police forces and surveillance and harassment people are calling new populations coherent with the gathering statistical information move tracking purview and knowledge production become objects and see surveillance and the forward guys being subjects of state protection homo-nationalism highlights how liberal rights discourse produce narratives of progress according to population access citizenship the expensive partial expulsion of from those rights of other populations commemorating rights and the legal consumer recognition of some recognition of subjects in the space and state power to surveil realizing the shoring up of the respectability of homosexual subjugation to the pathologized sexuality racial others and the very act of debating instrumental reform to grant queer bodies confidentiality sustains a mode of communicative rationality that reeks of homo-nationalist ideology utilizing media representation of selectively permeating images of respectable queers surveillance of identity thus it's not merely a question of confidentiality surveillance does not matriculate between the public-private divide but instead upholds a fantasy as such categories exist simultaneously creating networks to control and mobilize for anti-queer purposes D as Nate. For methods normalizing within culture, sexuality, policing appropriate forms of U.S. citizenship, sexuality, and mobilizing normalizing something like U.S. to set itself for exceptionalism, helps produce a state of continual paranoid acceptance for advance against political and population values to make U.S. more progressive and deserving of biological preservation. Government policy produce a version of queerness that abjects racial and national minorities mobilizing of cultural difference, serve and dominant population accepts homo-nationalism, accepts particular forms of homosexuality to foster empire operates as a regulatory script of Nor's readers, fetishization of queer exceptionalities, liberatory nation state needs to work bodies to make supple and the nation starts to apply network technology to policing preponderance of the metrosexual figure in the media representation highlights how acceptable forms of queerness tend to appeal to a consumingly population central characteristics for the sense of queer respectability, demonstrate constant mobilization of sexualities, policing reaction to the false idea that privacy and citizenship have been scripted for queer subjects by specific monumental liberatory occurrences create the boundaries will count about domesticity and intimacy, reduction, domesticity, market limitation, decision for minorities that are constantly under the threat of surveillance, privacy is open and fleeing for the subject for race and type relations to queer persons, and the impact is psychosis. The attempt to politically utilize the will to knowledge is traumatic. His demands for political rationality are incapable of dealing with melancholy expunges the psyche and causes object death. Lens 16. Knowing too much can be traumatic. It can lead to psychosis, gender trauma, and when the world doesn't reflect back to subject mourning, ushers the child away from psychosis. A beautiful political movement refuses to be healed by dominant culture is either lacking or excessive. The erasure of melancholy goes with the illusion of the psyche. We or transform the dead object subject primarily between beyond cultural intelligibility, making the importance of being there continually previously unrecognized concepts of science fiction to come to life socially or represent subject to be not yet imagined pre-conditioned subject knows too much or is too much for the social run initially the futures of abandoned hope and the present stature of the pornographic mediates social theory political manifesto miscellaneous cultural intelligibility discovered oddness within ourselves when released and able to briefly enigmatic states may be revisited respond the performance is unraveling the larger cultural codes of luck gender into place. Thus, this 1AC enables queer confidentiality by affirming the queer suicide terrorist before the law and explosion of self-sacrifice with a bomb in favor of the modern definitions of subjectivity, which suture together identity. This is a complete refusal of Western notions of being. We are machinic organisms, metal, and environment together in a messy fusion. The suicide terrorist resonates the figure of anti-normativity, which moves understanding from rational to irrational intensities of life, obliterating the being of the human subject in favor of queer becoming the role of the ballast to decide the ethicality debates communicative forums. So what say you? Accept the call of the 1AC and engage in a criminal implosion, transform the resolution itself into a ballistic weapon that turns order to disorder. Poirot 7. That we report suicide bomb trepidation, conscious cloning, domination, case of all violence, shapes understanding ethical illegitimate violence. There's a clear risk in trying to explain suicide bombs. A body machine through metal and flesh of the organic and the inorganic death scene that obliterates Hegelian self-ether. Dialectic self-analysis is the ultimate form of resistance, access self-preservation through martyrdom, giving life to the future of political struggle. Suicide bombs are side life emanating from conditions like the possibility for reconciliation opposites through their collapse assemblage, points to the inability to delineate spatial distinction between discrete biological body and technologies. Yet particles come to the fall from each other, never stable, or define the continual interface, not object multiplicity, the intimacy body with the weapon orient, spatial integrity, individuality. The body said we have a body, we have the body weapon, the cannon, transforms into a body, the mass that hides the weapon, the body transforms into a weapon. In a ballistic sense, these bodies ability inside, outside, infection, transmission through vibration. There are no sides for multiplying to unable to delineate here and there as due to the queer temporal interruption of the suicide bomb projectiles being every which way is a queer substitution for identity, race, and sexuality naturalized to different to the solutions of others only face the absolute marking mark of self and others but produce systemic challenge to rational organized to diversity, will contain infection, transmission, rate, not meaning, and we offer this space of queer convivial gathering and becoming with the possibility of escaping the systems of categorization which constitute debating the world more broadly, Cohen and Ramlo. And 6, we have to counter people who think I'm this, I'm that by thinking in strange fluid terms. I don't know what I am, not a question of being this or that, but of becoming in humanity and terrible constitute on anthropomorphic influential connected machinery scattered across the molecular field of animals, objects, and entities, and ceaseless movement rejected from its ending, especially when they fix and blend their place in their ready valid rigor and from the life and constant events of dire intermittent bodies and entities. Particles they are the passion animals, a grand lake of dynamism, create space, suddenly cease to stand found resting place and filled only by signs. The Pink Panther imitates something, imitates the world's color, becoming Lord, becomes in a perceptible async fragment, still eruptions the line of flight. The Pink Panther's mad to produce unruly queers in the 1990s, fed up with files in New York and centrists to ask activists coming out, act up in queer nation organized patrols in the pink out as they fought too hard for to take back the streets, rise back, mode becomes more clear and to deploy tactics and identify particles nor chain political products to represent void machine produced through connections across space and time. Market, space, and time.
Alright, cool. Can I use the timer during crossfix?
Oh yeah, let me pull up my phone then.
Alright, cool. Thanks, man.
Okay, good.
Alright, cool. Everybody ready?
Yep.
Alright, let's begin. So, do you defend the resolution?
What do you mean by the resolution?
The topic posited by the NSDA that says that in the United States, reporters ought to have the right to confidentiality.
You'll have to defend confidentiality, right, and in the United States before I can answer that question.
You have to specify every single term? That seems like something the affirmative should do.
Well, you're asking me to...
do you defend the true statement by the NSDA? So is that just a no? Just give me a straight answer, dude.
We do not defend a policy implementation by the federal government, no.
Okay, wait, so, but does that mean that you defend the right to confidentiality? Right, that's like an a priori concept?
The logic of that question in that it presumes that confidentiality is something that
okay, so when I ask the question, I'll ask it again. I just want a yes or no answer. Do you defend the topic?
The topic? We don't defend the policy implementation of the topic.
Just yes or no. Do you defend the LD topic?
No, we have impact from the frame of the
no,
question.
that's a no.
Yes.
Can I hold you to that?
That is a no.
Okay, cool.
So you can be so prepared to tell me how unprepared you were this debate.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about Puar. What is your theory of subjectivity?
What is our theory of subjectivity?
Yeah.
Our argument is that subjectivity is locked into a sort of gridlock whereby identities are defined in terms of their...
Is that a mistake? Like, do you posit identity as always in flux or change?
We say there are flows of becoming underneath the grid that can be accessed to...
So is the app reliant on a thesis of becoming?
What do you mean the thesis of becoming?
Like the thesis that change is imminent in identity. This is your own author that you just described.
You're an affirmation of becoming through the affirmation.
Okay, so if when that's a false description of reality, does that take out the thesis of the app?
It'll take out our affirmation of becoming. We still have to beat back our thesis of homo-nationalism.
Okay, what's homo-nationalism?
Homo-nationalism is the way in which the U.S. state posits certain respectable forms of queerness in order to be able to posit things like more militarization, surveillance, etc., violence on the queer folk,
okay,
and
cool.
also other populations.
What is psychosis?
What is psychosis? Our lens evidence contextualize it to mean when the reality of communication and political rationality doesn't reflect back to the self. Our argument is that's a status quo of debate where we are unable to be able to access the very content of debate because political rationality...
Do you garner pre-fiat offense?
Sorry?
Do you have any post-fiat offense, or is everything in the app pre-fiat?
What do you mean by post-fiat?
Like, do you just say you should affirm because the app itself is a good performance?
I don't think there's a distinction between post-fiat and pre-fiat because what we do in this space is material. It affects our political subjectivities.
Just because what we do in the space doesn't mean that there's still like hypothetical effects that occur per the enactment of the plan.
We don't like fiat in action, no.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about the role of the ballot. How do we decide on the ethicality of debate's communicated form?
By debating about it.
If I say debate is bad too, do I meet the role of the ballot?
No, we have criticized a specific form of debate in the way in which the resolution and this particular norm creates modes of anti-queer violence. You have to beat that argument.
Okay, wait, so if I propose a better alternative to say debate is bad, is that sufficient?
Well, you have to beat back our theory of power as well. Like, you have to beat back the thesis of the app and our criticism of the form of debate before you can be able to access those arguments. Okay,
cool. Let's talk about unintelligibility. The app used English. How are you on?
Right, so our argument isn't that using English or not using English is unintelligibility, but rather it's the form in which we have presented the suicide terrorist as something that destroys the Western rubric of rationality.
Alright, cool. Starting prep now? Now? cool, stop. 123 remaining. Sending out the duck.
How many off?
It's gonna be 4 off AC.
Cool.
Sorry, my computer's like really acting up recently.
You're fine.
Alright. Like you can look over here if you don't trust me.
I don't care.
Alright. You got Mac, right? Yeah. Should be fine. It should be sent.
Okay.
I had like 120. How much left?
123.
Oh yeah. Okay. I wrote 1, 2, 3. That's convenient.
I'm pulling it up right now. Okay. Alright, should be good.
What a makeshift stand right here.
That one.
It's all good. All right. Cool. Is everybody ready?
I negate the ability to bring conditions upon themselves to be because more judgment Wallace. People were more responsible, not just God, is responsible for their inhabitants away contract, responsible for the overflowing of the base of actions, thoughts of organizations, more responsibility to going beyond mere description of more character, what they do or the cause of wrong, bringing their actions about. That implies the right to choose the course of one's own life, even if it is against one's own self-interest to work in. Recognize the individual right of not allows each of us to be responsible for shaping our lives according to personality rather than along them. We allow someone to choose that over radical imputation because we can alter the right of life instructed by his own values. Thus, the standards to consistency with individuals' ability to be free from eternalism, prefer additionally being free from controls and the commitment of obstacles to think that comes first hop. Argumentation not consists of free floating proposition, but as a form of action requiring employment. It gives me no propose anything for the right to make a suit to be of the body when I presuppose this must be justified operate over any norm presupposes that any notice between parties committed practical contradiction. That comes first, since contradiction of logical possibility anything sort of contradiction corresponds to possible ones and most implausible. I contend that giving the reporter the right to protect confidential sources is necessary paternalism here. Granted the right of reporters to protect confidential sources means that reporters are the ones making the choice of whether or not confidential sources is kept confidential. Giving the reporters the right means that they can choose to disclose the identity even if the sources are the one who that function of terminal defense the AC they can't solve it. Even if reporters don't choose to give out the confidential sources, the nature of reporting confidential means that make it the choice for the client and not letting them choose the essence of paternalism. That next off, truth testing. To negate means to deny the truth of the world about its endorse the debate or best prove the truth or falsity of the resolution. First, the debate is a competitive game just like any other. The better competitor wins the video. There's the different ways to play the game. You cannot determine who wins off those factors. For instance, you wouldn't decide who won a basketball game, who shot 3 is the best. Even if that is important, you ultimately evaluate who had the most points. Even if you disagree with the debate is the game, I think that it means that you should concede that I care about winning. And second, if you are this illusory, nothing leads us to a round other than the result about it. Even if we hypothetically break down the impression, ultimately makes no real difference other than the battle, which means it makes no sense to the actual world about it. At the very best, you could write whatever you think is important on the but still evaluate based on the better debate or better for any say for your positions and more people talk about it. If it loses 3 is inclusion, any offense can function under truth testing, whereas your specific role about excludes all strategy, but yours is bad for inclusive debates because the people out to very technical or comprehensive debate knowledge and shut off from your scholarship, which turns your world about truth testing often because you can do what you're good at, and so can I. This also is better for education because by me engaging in debate I know nothing about doesn't help anyone out since it is real world implication in round rather than a thought experiment that doesn't do anything. Fourth is fundamentals. Denying truth testing denies the fundamentals of debate activity. The ACNC thesis is every underlying principle of acquisition and knowledge is derived from some conception of what is true and internalizing testing is now truth testing is impossible since the context of an academic setting and undermines superstitions into possible gaining knowledge without knowing what's true. Next off, AC interpretation of affirmative debate must endorse the topic latitude be a violation. They explicitly said no in cross text, so don't try to let them make a frivolous time. These standards 1 limits the affirmative has to do the resolution that explicit limits since you can literally justify anything. 5 effects say predictably I can predict the affirmative will read that always since the case since it's the case and what I predict is the reality based on my prep before the round of piece for cherry picking. You justify the affirmative figure out infinitesimal argument for strategic purpose debating the entirety of the offense always since no contrary result you creating these affirmative no turn or to background I can link to see accessibility to multiple again for as many affirmative which means you or norm actively exclude participation that always is all argumentation assumes access to discourse of Rome and these burdens of an affirmative means I can never link my sufficient I can never meet my sufficient burden or burden required to respond to the affirmative terms of the gate because if you care about the gate then you should care about the gate when you actively inhibit these anxiety terms are already talked about. The last thing you need somebody here to fourth round when you're reading affirmative they have no good case to the literature you are familiar with it you know they know infinitely more than you they do after they've sacrificed hours of time going in the depth of topical research and practice accessibility to further exclusion of certain groups, needs of voters, fairness against abuse, arbitrarily skewed evaluations, right out of debate on TA, 7 authorities get on first to be behind on the AC, which is what means C first to be since he was reactive to AC abuse, and B dropped the argument, he still lose voting off anything else functionally different, and the use can be interpretation, A, reasonably arbitrary, especially with definition, which gives objective interpretation, B, reasonably, classic can be interpretation, question of whether often needs some bright line, no, RB has on TA, generally defective by teacher, because my office, my one, my normative would be logic, you should, when forbidding your burden to be topical, as we do when everyone always goes logic, possible by which to debate, argument, Afghan, leverage, case, A point, the truth is used to determine, truth is determined through contestation, debate, which fairness controls internally, treatment, we can adjudicate truth, your warrants, and B, I indicted the ability to read the argument in the first place, logically, we're on a higher layer, and C, preserve the sanctity of theory from substance, 2 reasons, 1, that's key to maintain the gears of recourse against abuse, and multiple dejections, and extinction, probably always fairness, and second, is that give place to previous pofiat distinction, e.g. joining charity doesn't mean that you win if details true. Next off. Okay. All philosophical worldviews contain an inherent philosophical position which posits the real as X. This commit the fundamental errors and principles of accessibility to note the status of the real. These analyses rely on the belief that everything is philosophizable without consideration human cognition. All worldviews are unilaterally determined if we're close from ever capturing a legitimate purpose of the real world. Very well. Formalized structure of philosophy, affect control identity, all philosophy gives the radical identity unity of the position determined by reasons of structural nature and due to deliberation philosophical position corresponds distribution transcendental and behavioral functions of philosophical operation transcendental which believes in the possibility of unitary discourse of reality to philosophize society reality to be able to order them in the universal order of principle delivery the philosophical position of philosophy of the mediatic indication towards the has recorded the identity which is delivered for closure of the real or the one and the further affirmation of queer suicide bombers the link the declaration of the real as queerness always bridges into which commits a philosophical decision they posit queerness is essential to the base space they're theorizing it is a philosophy of queerness while the alternative is a philosophy through that queerness the link is the being to become their notion of subjectivity is flux and imminent queerness comes over the reality that we're stable in that flux they ignore the being and becoming their heteronormative of the capturing of the queer suicide bomber Koala Zova 14 the post-structural scintillation non related to radical instability presupposition and instability surviving the substance principle being something that cannot be critical the question with a theoretical horizon non-utilitarian non-fixed nature most metaphysical subject work on stabilizing gestures and these philosophical decisions have a cultural elements that through the collective unconscious establishing a general consistent presentation of the world through the dominant paradigm of whiteness deeming blackness as non-human this presentation is not logical but social Darren Wilson internalized the philosophical position of whiteness which is against reality dialectically opposition of blackness and Michael Brown day-to-day violence that occurs black bodies and manifestation of whiteness and paradigms philosophical decision inherent to it Smith and Waters in 16 announced it cannot be part of the games until the state of the world the bigger reality like the way in which police officers are in the last sentence allowed to kill a number of black men no angel Michael Brown does not be killable black man has to present a state of philosophy structure white appearance of the world which informs right of the anti-black world of this repeats the structure of philosophical position universalism of European philosophy is but ordinary humans to be believed without conditions of color the void of the objectification of the bacterium the right of the world's decisional globalization material for human liberation the purpose is always to break the world of the world there may be space for humans that we are no prior to worldly amassment the alternative in the game endorse a non-philosophical radicalization of the affirmative thought world they operate on the philosophy of queerness sponsored by Boer the alternative recognition of that cognition is above immanence where rather we theorize through immanence they need a declarative claim to the real proofs complete competition Smith 16 ethics live in immanence on philosophy of philosophers and ethics and disempowerment recapture the material universal search link back to the concept of the matter make it function non-philosophically because ethics is a matter of universalized to refuse recognition got the card there and go on the app as a general thesis to your unintelligibility claim, 1, you are definitely intelligible. A point is that you are talking English, we all understand. And B point is that you have fundamental philosophical concepts, i.e. we pinpoint the fact that you defend immanence and flux, and C is that you result in the deduction of the binaries, which is definitely turns the entirety of the reason why you're bad. And also second is that if you defend that not all intelligibility is bad, that means there's no bright line as to when it's sufficient amount of intelligibility to be rejected. That means you reject the entirety of the framing mechanism. On the world about 1, the alternative sufficient links it is because non-philosophy is definitely radical because all of LD is about positing a philosophical decision which we defend. It's also second is that truth testing link by the inclusion argument. That means that we generate a better debate form and we create a better ethicality of debate. The reason possible to determine the winner because there's no inherent weight mechanism here, i.e. they don't defend a utilitarian calculus. So even if I make arguments accessibility, that doesn't implicitly mean that I went on to rail. Also for I actually skipped that. Let's go into homo nationalism. 1, these all copies are subjectivity claims because if this is the case that nature of power operates through a gridlock or subjectification of identity, that presupposes that is wrong in the first place. So Kolozova would take all the homo nationalism out.
Okay, can I get the timer?
Yeah. So pretty much what was not in the doc is on the AC, the 2-point, and the 4-point on your roll of ballot. The 2-point homo nationalism, 4-point roll of ballot.
The 2-point homo nationalism was not in there,
Yeah.
and the 4-point on the roll of the ballot.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. You ready?
Give me a sec. Yeah.
Okay. I guess the critique, what parts of the app does K disagree with?
The fundamental thesis of subjectivity.
Okay, why?
Because we say that while it may be true that it is the case that we change over time, what we do in persistent is that change itself. Non-philosophy operates as a recognition of that. What Laruelle indicts is the transcendentalizing function which mimics the things that you and I.
A recognition of what, sorry?
A recognition of the stability in that flux. If you're always changing, you're stable in that flux.
Wait, what do you mean?
Could you explain that? Unpack that.
There
for
is
me?
one condition to describe you over time, to describe an agent or subject over time. Larwell is the recognition with postmodern philosophy, i.e. Poir, etc., and reconciles that confrontation.
Wait, what
Whatever.
do you mean that, like, I guess, having constant flux means that we are still stable? I don't necessarily understand this argument.
Okay, so what does stability do?
What? No, I think that's a question you should probably
Okay,
answer.
so stability
It's
is
critique.
unchanging, constant. These are pretty basic terms. We are unchanging and constant in the fact that we are in flux.
Wait, okay, so, alright, that's fine. What does the alternative do to challenge the grid?
So non-philosophy is a process or a style of thought that guts the fundamental axioms or declarations of the real, which Larwell calls the philosophical decisions of philosophy. So the one that we would indict for you is positing the real or the ontological nature of subjects to be constantly in change.
Okay, why is it not constantly changing then?
That's the first call of Zova evidence.
What's the warrant?
The warrant is that you are stable in that change.
Okay.
A lack of recognition of
What's the
posits
next
yourself
link?
as an outside observer that you think
What's
like you can
the
dominate
next link to
reality
the
through your
critique?
interpretations of subjectivity.
What's the next link to the critique?
That's it.
That's the only link? Okay,
Yeah.
the Wilderson argument, is blackness ontological?
No.
No, it's not? Okay,
No.
cool. So then what's the warrant in the Wilderson
The Wilderson argument is, it's from Smith commenting on Wilderson as a general quote. The argument is that to accept blackness as ontologically dead would rather reify social death because the modern paradigm of whiteness uses the logic of the philosophical decision
How
to
is this a
deem
reason to
blackness
reject the
as
F?
intrinsically like
yeah,
that.
how is this a reason to reject the F?
It's just an impact to the K.
Okay, wait, what's the internal link to this?
The internal link is that the logic of philosophical decisions are used to oppress people in the real world.
The logic of philosophical, how does the
Yeah,
alternative
positing
not
of
link to this?
X as real. Or the real as X.
Okay, wait, so what did the 1AC posit as real?
That we are constantly in change.
Okay, cool. The first piece of evidence, what does it mean that all worldviews are unilaterally determined?
Oh, this is just saying that we live in reality. So recognition of that requires us to realize that we can't dominate it and be like, here's
When
an
did we
all
try to
observing.
dominate reality?
By declaring that all people are in flux. This is pretty clear.
Yeah, how is that a domination of reality? I don't
Because you
understand.
say, this is an objective claim regarding reality.
When did we? Okay, sure. What's the terminal impact to?
Like, Crossix is pretty revealing on that.
What's the terminal impact to T?
Well, we'd probably say fairness.
Okay.
I mean, there's like independent weighing that links to the you rolled about and stuff and the limit standard, but
Sure. 5 minutes done now. I have another quick question. What are my pronouns?
I don't know.
Why did you call me man in first cross-sex?
It was an
assumption.
I don't know if I did. If I did,
I mean,
it was
we
slipped
have
in my mind.
recording. That's fine. It'll be a thing.
Okay, well,
What are
I
your
would
pronouns?
prefer not to be, but
What are
I
your
genuinely, like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize
What are
it.
your pronouns?
He, him.
Cool. Okay, start prep. 2 minutes left. It's gonna, or actually keep going for 1 second. Okay, 130. Newhoff, case, NC, psychoanalysis, truth testing, topicality.
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Newhoff, case, NC, psychoanalysis, truth testing, topicality.
Is psychoanalysis law well?
Yeah.
Okay.
You just sang first.
Mm-hmm.
You got you off case.
Yeah. Okay, is everyone ready?
No, did you send out Doug?
Oh, wait, yeah. There's one card, sorry. I will send it out. Okay, that's done.
It's on your top.
Okay. Everyone ready?
New office, assuming gender roles is an independent voting issue. This is done in 1AC cross-sex when Lucas called me man 1AC cross-sex. You can check the video. It's proof that that's an independent voting issue. Drop the psychosis impact, which is our lens evidence crossed by here, which talks about how which talks about how the realities of the world doesn't reflect back to itself in the context of things which cause things like gender trauma and violence. I'm going to explain that below, but it's a reason to be able to negate them, even if they win every other argument on the flow. It's not a question of what I identify as the way in which you have made those assumptions without asking you first, which is the voting issue. Case. I affirm my terms resolution to a ballistic weapon be a create suicide tears when shatter static conception of heteronormative identity and saturate both repeat debate and reporting creating cruel attachment to state-based system to care but after employ this mode of communication foster create convivial space of deviance which the only internal value life in a space beyond create death to impact one is homo nationalism focus on instrumental forms of like pyramids images of respectable creating the media scripts identity on the bodies. Two is psychosis again normative rationale is traumatic because it doesn't reflect back to the self which lost out creative even practice by treating them as dead objects with how you value. They say that we have this philosophical orientation we communicate. That's not our argument. It's not that we should not communicate but rather a form for the form for orientation is one that injects a queer suicide theorist into the space because it cannot be rationalized by Western grids of intelligibility to try to lock into a sort of binary between good and evil. The homo nationalism takes out subjectivity, no work to this. You should allow you to an extrapolation on argument. They say their rule of outcomes first. I'm going to do this on the truth testing debate, but subject formation comes first. It's the only way to be able it's the only way to be able to check if orientation within the space is ethical. And see for first of all, the affirmative prerequisite to this because grids of intelligibility means queers can't be able to establish their identity in the first place. Second of all, we don't paternalize a specific mode for subject formation, but rather the queer suicide theories employs a form of the resolution to be able to create those processes for new ones becoming within the space to be the implication at the bottom is the topic. We obviously don't defend that, which means there's no link psychoanalysis. permutation, do both. Permutation, have a query reading the alternate one. Instead of working through Eurocentric models of identity, we should be able to act through deviance when queries are arguments that when queries are placed in the modes of scientific rationality, they're treated as lab rats and deviance was independent. But due to the fact that you didn't ask for to you should be the criticism as a pastor trying to diagnose why the gay child is a problem. You should be the alternatives when they're trying to be able to pray the gay way. Maybe if we find maybe if we find a cure for your problems, we can solve it, which is the exact logic that they use, which is why the extent of the lens evidence, desire and lust is not about thinking about desire in order to be able to in order to be able to find a certain motive, the real, but rather finding a radical otherness within ourselves, which means the survival strategy argument that they've dropped the flux arguments. There's no link to this because our 8 point is that it's better than the status quo. You can see that the status quo operates by locking identities into certain grids of intelligibility. We're the only way to be able to solve that, which means probably try or die for the affirmative, even if they're running this argument now. Skip the card. Truth testing. 1, we have impact on the current form debating about the resolution, which means it comes prior to truth testing. 2, our role about comes to our subject formations. The prerequisites to all your arguments, otherwise people can be able to justify things like acts like slavery, good, defending homonationalism, and still be able to win the debate. 3, debates are kind of game by its material implication. That was the subject formation argument. 4, you can't determine who did the better debating things like your social location. Change that, which means there's no objective metric to be able to do that. And we turn inclusivity because queer bodies can't be able to be able to access the content debate because of psychosis. In the first place, topicality, we get to weigh the affidavits of from the current form debate. Their interpretation making a content level claim that presumes to be ethical in the first 18. The outcome tried to TVs and abstraction turn 9 to be able to weigh its case. Allows debaters to watch very completely entire dialectics, great psychological honesty, procedural fairness. Those absent psychosis means queers are able to access the content debate in the first place. Now, on the interim counter suicide bottom, the model debate, we impact our definitional precision as the same logic that brackets out deviant understandings of the world. There's a cruel optimism, decide debates about instrumental form, bad deeds, and poor say queer bodies, well as being objects of surveillance because the state operates by the illusion of rights of legitimate bonds and other first faith in this system creates trauma and means there TV and suicide debate arguments just on 1%. The absence of center implosion of deliberate norms, and now final similarity decide their position on one universal way to base the level of control premise on reactive hatred for unpredictability leads to lash out against that which they defines outside limits to debate. If we would thesis that the world is fundamentally becoming, then the attempt to orient oneself towards stability is the denial of existence that kills queer possibilities to implode debate.
Alright, can I use your timer again?
Yeah.
Alright, thanks. Lost my charger, so. Alright, cool. Starting prep now. What are your pronouns?
He, him.
Okay. What was the responses to the NC?
To the NC, let me pull it up. 1, the absent prerequisite, because grids of intelligibility means queer people can't establish identity or agency in the first place because they're locked down through psychosis. 2, we don't paternalize or forefront one universalizable way to be able to solve oppression, or rather we queer suicide terrorism is an implosion of debate that opens up new queer possibilities. 3 was no, the implication doesn't matter because there's no link to, we don't defend the normative affirmation in the resolution, which means
All right.
it's not a reason to reject us.
Alright, cool. The order is gonna be his new off. The T. Yeah, wait, actually, let me get stuff set it up. So there's no new cards or anything. The order is gonna be his new off, ACKT. Yeah. Okay. Is everybody ready?
Yep.
You shook your head? Okay, okay. Yeah, you're good.
Over you to the new off, one of the assumptions is correct. This is mitigates the impact because there's no violence here. It's not a question of norms anymore. It's a question of in-round impacts, i.e. I use the proper norms or proper pronouns. And second, this is not a subject. You debated Connerly and he referred to you as he, which is I'm usually pretty good at this. That's probably where I interpret it from, or definitely where I interpret it from, i.e. I have seen you debate before and I've seen people call you that. That's why I called you that. It was not an assumption. There's no violence given to 3. Sorry is a sufficient response. Like, I'm genuinely sorry. I know this is a shitty norm that occurs a lot in debate. I think that we can still have a productive debate because you spend a lot of time on the app, and I think that we should just resolve it there. This is just a plea to be nice here. Like, I'm genuinely sorry about this. I usually very good at this, and I think the reason why was because I've seen you debate before, i.e. the Connerly U round. The fourth argument is in a bit of order. I'm going to be going for other framing arguments will necessarily include neither arguments that they should come first because gender, violence, trauma, etc. But your own pro-R claims empirically deny this, i.e. to attempt to satisfy things through pronouns that turns your own arguments per your app. This is the reason why your app would be bad for this off, not a reason why we disagree with it. Let's go on to the AC. Extend the first term that the affirmative developed intelligible. Extend the A point that it's in English. Extend the B point that they use philosophical concepts like the notion of flux and imminence. And extend the C point of the deduction of the binary to the vowel. They say that it's a question of whether or not it can be rationalized by the Western structure, but this is not responsive at all because English is definitely being able to understand and rationalize within a general Western structure in order to attempt to control language or just to control revolutionary language. It means that you definitely link it to this argument. You link it to your own arguments. You also can see the second point that even if there's not all intelligibility is bad, i.e. English arguments that just means there's no sufficient problem when we're intelligible enough in order to determine whether or not it triggers or impact or triggers psychosis, which means that you can't resolve any of the arguments that they make under their particular role of the ballot. Let's go on to the role of the ballot claims itself. Actually, yeah, no. Oh, yeah. They concede that the third argument it's impossible to determine a winner on this because there's no inherent weighing mechanism. They never justify util laws, which means that I can't make impact on accessibility or anything. This fundamentally goes to the means that means you must use the or default to the only the roll of the ballot left in the round, i.e. truth testing. I'm not so you can say that across the floor. I'm not going to be spending a bunch of time on the truth testing layer. This is literally the only argument I'm going for. It is incoherent to use the roll of the ballot. You must default to mine. Let's go into the K. Extend the close of 14 level. The link is the being to becoming. I'm kicking the alternative to the roll, the impact. All I'm going for here is that the link is a turn. The link operates as a link turn to the AC and its terminal defense. Extend that across the flow. It denies your theory subjectivity. All your arguments about homo nationalism is saying that there's a gridlock which places people within the side of structure of Western modernity, which places people into particular symbolic identities. But the concession to close over 14, the fundamental evidence here is going to be damning because it empirically denies that we are stable in that flux. That is called the one or the real outlaw or well cause that it always exists with us, and what we need to do is recognize the ambiguity of that, which you don't, because you attempt to posit and create declarations regarding, which also turns it because that means that you try to capture queerness as an all-knowing thing, which means that you violate the own tenets of what it means to engage in a queer side, engage in a method of queer suicide bomber. That means close over link turns the AC. It is clear why their engagement or their conception of queerness as imminent and subjectivity as or flux as imminent in terms of subjectivity results in the reproduction and the impact they tend to talk about. Even if you don't buy that, it denies a fundamental thesis. Let's go on to the T. On the voter section first. Extend fairness of voter because the evaluation of the round, and that means that this comes before any other arguments. I think they didn't attempt to impact any argument of fairness of the round or into inclusion, accessibility, etc., which they didn't do any way into because in order to even access the round or to make arguments against that, I need the debate space to be fair in the first place so we can engage with those arguments so we can have these discussions. They can say to drop the debate on T's because they can say that across the floor. They can say to use convenient interpretation, extend that, and also extend no RVIs. That means that this is only offensive layer for me, so if it's on the highest layer, then you automatically indicating off a brisk of offense, i.e. they've conceded the violation and they've conceded the fairness preclusion argument, so that always good for coming first. Even if you don't buy that, all their counter-interpretation offense, or all the offense they attempt to articulate as disads, are reliant on the fundamental claims they make out of the app, i.e. cruel optimism, etc., and I try to attempt to posit a universal form of debate, but they've conceded the fundamental paradigm, the fundamental paradigm issue that the affirmative can't leverage case, extend the import that truth is determined through contestation, which fairness controls the internal link to. That means that we have no idea whether or not the thesis of cruel optimism, or rather the thesis of universal debate being bad is legitimate, because I need to be able to contest that in the first place, and extend the B point that we indicted the ability to read the argument in the first place, so that means that logically we're on the higher layer, and we have impacts of fairness. Since the C point preserves the sanctity of theory from substance, i.e. you should engage in and defend your norm as a good thing. Extend the two reasons why. The first one is the key to maintain theories of recourse against abuse, otherwise it's just literally impossible. That just means infinite abuse, and you actively exclude people with link turn to roll the ballot. That analysis was done from limits there. Also extend the second one that conflates pre and post fiat distinction, which is just incoherent. So let's go on to the limits, or extend the interpretation. The affirmative debater must endorse the topic of accuracy. Extend the limits there. The affirmative has nothing to do with the resolution resolution that can do anything, extend the predictability impact that you can see that outweighs the K or the affirmative because I can predict what you're going to do. It means I have literally no basis for prep. That actively excludes people in the round. Also, you can see the anxiety impact, i.e., you trigger psychosis because people become so fixated on the anxiety that they have coming into the round against an app that they're not prepared against, that they trigger the psychosis impact that you talk about, which is a link turn under your roll of valor. The reason why the act of not defending the resolution is actively bad for the ethicality debate. Even though by that extent, the accessibility arguments of all schools can't prep for as many affirmatives, which means that you're not actively losing participation. Then that you can see that outweighs because all argumentation, i.e., the argumentation of the counter interpretation assumes access to the discursive realm in the first place. On your counter interpretation proper, you say that I'm making the cruel optimism death side. One, no, there's no link here. Our claim isn't that we are optimistic about the debate here, but rather we should just have a debate. You literally don't defend the central resolution or the proposition that we are supposed to debate, which defines what a debate is. We don't have a proper view, vision, or we don't attempt to create a futuristic vision of what debate looks like, but rather we just say that this is a bad practice, and you say that deviance is taken out, but no, too, that's empirical and I, because the deviance exists consistently inside of the debate space through topical ACs, i.e. Grant Brown is a great empirical instance. He read multiple apps like this that always defended the resolution, were very explicitly topical, even though people still write T against him. Yeah. So T comes first. Oh wait, yeah. Cool. Forgot there was a 2. Alright, I'm tired.
Okay. How much time do I have left? I think it's 2.
I didn't write it down. I'm fine with 2.
Okay.
Did y'all write it down?
Okay. Cool. Case KT. Everyone ready? Alright.
Your response on the case may were pretty bad. Your first argument is that we were intelligible. To be continued our argument that it's not a question of us speaking or talking in English, but rather the way in which we orient ourselves towards the current form of debate. Insofar as we are winning, that the resolution itself of the specific norm of defending the topic or even debating at all is violence. It's the reason why you should inject the queer suicide tears into the field of this space is unintelligible, because it cannot be locked into a sort of grid of good versus evil, which is our argument about how the intent of the suicide tears can never be known, which is why it's unintelligible, which means it's not a question of whether we spoke or not, but rather orientation towards specific structures within this space. You say there's no weighing mechanism for the role of the ballot, but even if you're buying this argument from the 2NR, that the fact that they didn't go for any argument in the 2NR that proves the falsity of the resolution proves that there is a possibility for other roles of the ballots that can exist outside of truth testing, since you didn't negate the resolution, but you can still be able to make you can still be able to win on T, which proves that you should probably prefer our role of the ballot, since it's specific to this round which you should end here. The only thing you can make your decision on is the ethicality debate communicative form. If we win the form of debate that they sustain this violence, to reason you should vote affirm the critique, extend the drop trier argument. You can see that in the status quo, Korean is always staticized, which means that becoming is the only thing we can do to have a possibility to solve any of their impacts, especially since they have no alternative, and we will win unique reasons why you should be able to vote affirmative even on top count. Even if they win this argument, there are too many continued impact turns on the T layer for you to be able to vote negative, since we're winning unique psychological violence arguments on that flow. Go to top calorie. The framing issue for this flow is that the 2NR never defends the value for our competitive debate environment. They defend things like the academy and abstract that is assuming how the form for activity is anti-career incentivized violence through the will to productivity, respectability, and predictability. You dropped our molarity to sad, which is that the will to predictability is fundamentally violent. This means our framing of challenge the assumed ethicality debate and breaking down norms comes before any of their shells. We have an uncontested psychosis impact that has an external impact of psychological violence which extends outside of this round. Now, ways fairness means the central question in this debate will come down to your orientations towards these structures. Even if you win things like procedural fairness, you can see a meta level question of whether we should engage in a space that commits so much violence, which means even if you win any of your arguments, any of your other procedural arguments, you should vote affirmative, since we won an argument about how any attempt to participate in this space is wrong. That their argument that Grant is this too is gonna be a voting issue. Most respectability policy that links into our psychosis impact, because it proves that you try to be able to universalize your model of communication to everyone by saying, since one person can be able to read non-top class in this way, can all queer people do it too? That's our exact argument about how you destroy the possibility of a reflection of the political knowledge that we gain here onto the self, which is our argument about how suicide bombing your model debate through the counter-interpretation through suicide bombing it is necessary for any valued life. They're probably now their case cross-outs arguments are taking out by our argument about how we get to be able to weigh the advocates. Of course, in the current form debate, their only other answer that can win them this space is anxiety argument that you conceded that we are the only possibility to create valued life in this space, and the fact they made it a truth testing but the fact but there's no reason why this is unique to our model of debate. The people read K's on the egg under your model of debate as well, which means it's non-unique and they didn't do enough comparative analysis on it.
All right, good round.
Debate.